Okie dokie, we are live. Thank you, technology angels, for being on our side. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Katie Phillips. I am the founder of the School of Self-Love, and it's my absolute honor to join you all week running My Menopause. It's an interview series with 19 incredible experts speaking about all things menopause. And I'm absolutely blessed today to have Julie Dennis with us. Hi, Julie. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Hi. There's quite a theme today. We've been speaking a lot about menopause in the workplace, but as I'm discovering very quickly, we women don't keep to one subject. We like to talk about lots of different things all in and around. So I think we'll be exactly the same today.
Okay.
Who are live watching this on Facebook, thank you for joining us. If you would like to ask any questions to Julie, feel free to type them in the comments tabs below Facebook. We can't answer them live on the call, but Julie, I'm sure, won't mind jumping onto the Facebook page at some point.
Not. I will pop in later this afternoon if there's some questions and take a look and see what I can do to help you, because ladies, if you don't ask for help, you won't get it.
Exactly. Those of you who are live here on Zoom, you can ask questions today. So you'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a little Q&A box, and you can write in your questions there, and I will read those out to Julie towards the end of the call. Julie, if that's okay.
Super. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. All right, well, let's dive in, and let me start off by reading out your bio so that everybody knows who they're speaking to or hearing from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Julie Dennis is a menopause coach on a mission to take menopause mainstream. She helps busy professional women to cool down, calm down, and break through the brain fog of menopause. She works with organizations providing balanced, expert advice to improve the experience of women struggling with menopause symptoms in the workplace and at home. Prior to working in the health and wellness field, Julie worked in a variety of corporate roles spanning executive search, management consultancy, and the mining industry.
Yeah.
Powerful combination of her personal experience and business background means she is ideally placed to understand both the needs of midlife female employees and the needs of the business. Julie's book, The Hot Flush Freedom Challenge, is available now on Amazon in hard copy and Kindle. And I'm so glad to have you here, Julie. Thank you so much.
Oh gosh, I'm absolutely delighted to be part of these series, and I love that you've brought together 19 different women who have all got a different aspect of menopause to talk about. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. Can we pause for one moment, because this is the beauty of live technology. And I'm just checking. Okay, yeah. So I'm using my 3G to record this, which is hilarious. I've got terrible weather where I am in the world, and Wi-Fi ain't playing ball. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that to make sure we don't drop out. Julie, how about we start with a personal story, because I think it's really important for women to share stories, and we relate to each other's stories. We learn through stories, don't we? So would you mind just telling everybody a little bit about your experience of menopause?
Yeah, sure. And I think you're absolutely right. We've got to learn to talk about menopause, and it starts with us, experts talking about our own menopause experiences. Otherwise, why would any other woman be prepared to share theirs? So I'm 47 now, but actually my menopause story started in my early 30s, a long time ago, when I was working in the mining industry at Rio Tinto. So I had a hysterectomy in my early 30s. I was in hospital for about a week, I think, recovering from the surgery. And during that period, I was put onto HRT very quickly after the operation. Went home, spent another 3 months or so recovering from the surgery at home, and then went back to work and didn't really think anything else about it. Just got on with my life. Nothing really changed apart from a big scar down the down the center of my stomach. So I just got on with my life. Fast forward, 12, 13 years or so, and I was made redundant from Rio Tinto, which is fine. I didn't hate my job. I wasn't depressed about working in the corporate world. I wasn't burnt out. In fact, I quite enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I didn't have a passion for it. So being given a big pile of cash and the opportunity to do something completely new was, for me, very welcome in my mid-40s. So what I decided was I wanted to do something completely different. I moved into the health and wellness industry, and originally qualifying as a personal trainer and nutrition advisor. specifically wanting to work with women over 40, women like me who, who wanted to get healthy but not too healthy, fit but not too fit, lose some weight but not too much, all about finding balance and confidence rather than a kind of super clean lifestyle. And the business was going really great until I started getting questions about menopause, which of course I didn't have any answers to. I kind of naively assumed that being on HRT, I was cured, which in many ways I was temporarily, my hormone levels are being topped up. But what I didn't realise was that when I came off HRT, the chances were the symptoms would manifest again unless I change my lifestyle. So I thought, why am I waiting until 51, which is what the doctors told me is when I should come off menopause. I was over the age of 45, which is what the government guidelines say you should stay on HRT until. So I decided to come off it, gradually reduce my dosage over a period of about 6 months. Anyone out there thinking about coming off HRT, do it slowly. Otherwise, it's a bit like stepping off a cliff. And I tell you, it wasn't that much fun doing it slowly either. I went through all of the symptoms. So many of you've heard about the hot flushes, the mood swings, the brain fog. But I think it was the lack of sleep that brought me to my knees, because it doesn't matter what's going on in your life, you can usually just about cope. But if you haven't been sleeping for weeks or months on end, it really does make everything so much harder to deal with, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So luckily for me, because of my background in nutrition and personal training, I was able to make some changes to the way that I eat, drink, move and think. And what I'm currently doing is managing my symptoms through lifestyle choices as opposed to through to medical choices. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And we'll see how long that lasts for. So my headline is mining to menopause. All the M's.
How did menopause affect your career choices then?
Well, 100% affected my career choices. Originally, not in the slightest. Like I said, I had my surgery, I got my HRT, and I went back to work, and nothing changed at all, really, apart from, I'd had this period of time out. So it wasn't until I really became more interested in my health and wellness and health and wellness of other women just like me that menopause then became a massive part of my life. And obviously that's where I focus my business now. So whereas I used to look at general health and fitness, now I specifically focus on menopause and, as you said in the beginning, menopause in the workplace. Yeah,
right. So in terms of menopause in the workplace and that being your absolute focus, when women come to you for support, what is it around their workplace experience that you're noticing? What are the key things you're noticing that they're probably struggling with?
Yeah, well, I think it falls into 3 categories. First of all, you've got the symptoms themselves. Then you've got the lack of awareness from your colleagues and management. And then there's the lack of support. So when it comes to symptoms, there's the obvious one, like hot flushes that we hear so much about. But, they're not just uncomfortable, they're really embarrassing, especially if you have very evident, strong hot flushes, or you might become sweaty, or you go purple in the face. I was speaking to a lady recently who always gets hot flushes on her commute. So she's arriving at work feeling really unclean because of the amount she's been sweating on the train. Hot flushes can make you, I know, it's awful, isn't it? Hot flushes can make you embarrassed to speak up in meetings. Hot flushes can mean your colleagues are like, what is going on with her? Because they don't understand what's going on. You've got the brain fog, which makes it harder to concentrate. You can't remember facts and figures as well as you used to. You might find it difficult to articulate. Your desk might suddenly be covered in post-its because you're desperately attempting to remember everything. Is that you? And by the way, post-its aren't the best way to do it. It's not the most organised.
Works for me.
Brain fog. What else is there? Mood swings. Of course, your patience becomes thinner because of hormonal changes during menopause, and that can affect your relationships with your colleagues and also your clients too. But there's this it's an overall feeling of lack of confidence, which can make it harder for you to progress in your career, harder for you to ask for help, harder for you to ask for a promotion, or even harder for you to ask for a pay rise. So there's the symptoms which have a really direct effect.
I don't want to go too off the question, but what is it about confidence? Why is our confidence affected?
Well, I think that the answer to that is if you're feeling hot and sweaty, if you put on weight, if you're not sleeping, if you don't feel attractive any longer, then absolutely your confidence is going to drop. Yeah, I think it's it's directly related to all the other symptoms. It's a result of all the physical and emotional changes that you're going through, and it has a direct impact on your confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think, and then the other things are the lack of awareness from colleagues and managers. So a lady I spoke to recently, she was saying she'd worked for her boss for 10 years. Her appraisals had always been really good, really spot on. This year, her appraisal said she seemed to be a little bit stressed, seemed to be a little more disorganized than usual. And she knew exactly what was going on. And she couldn't believe that her boss didn't think to say to her, is there something else going on behind here? He just focused purely on her work, didn't try to look at what was going on in the background. So it's a lack of awareness among the men and also the younger women about what's going on. Yeah. And because of that, then there's a lack of support. Organisations don't always have in place the policies, the practices, the training, the informal or formal meetups to support women. So those are the three things that it is really. It's about the symptoms women experience. It's about the lack of understanding from the men and the younger women, from HR and from management. And that's not their fault. It's down to a lack of education. And then there's the lack of support within organisations as well. So I think lack of education is huge when it comes to menopause. We're taught at school, we talk about the start of fertility, but what about the end of fertility and the impact that can have on your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Well, I'm educating my 11-year-old son. Well, he'll be 11 this week.
Good.
Yeah.
I've got 4 stepdaughters. They're all in their 20s now, but they all know 100% what menopause is about. My 81-year-old dad knows what menopause is about, and none of them are embarrassed to say that word. And we shouldn't be embarrassed to talk about menopause. 100% of women are going to go through it. So we've got to stop talking about it as this silent issue or taboo issue or this underground thing. It's not silent. It's not taboo. It's just we're not quite sure how to articulate it, I think.
Absolutely. Well, and that's exactly it. We're not sure how to articulate it. And when you were talking about the woman with the example of the line manager who didn't understand or question why she might be...
Yeah, why things have suddenly changed, yeah.
Really I guess the onus is also on her to communicate to him, but what's the language? Is it okay? Are we allowed to? It's because it's so the white elephant in the room. It's like we now need to be given permission to have the conversations, that it's okay, that it's safe, that it's normal, there's nothing wrong with you. So are you helping women to have these conversations in the workplace?
Absolutely. And that's why it's important for organisations to have policies and guidelines. So it's already there within their suite of health and safety advice or strategy. And in terms of the women having conversations, it's just giving them a structure to follow so they feel comfortable and again safe. So don't rush into these meetings. So, oh my God, this has happened to me, isn't it awful? Because it's going to end in tears, probably yours, not a great career move. But if you're prepared for the meeting, if you can go in and say specifically how symptoms are impacting your work, like hot flushes are embarrassing you and you don't feel confident speaking to clients at the moment, like you're not sleeping very well, so maybe would it be possible to come into work a little bit later, look at flexible working options, which everyone is allowed to ask for. Yes. So get very clear on how the symptoms are impacting your work, and then it makes it easier to talk to your manager about it and come up with a solution. Don't expect them to have the answers. They probably won't. If they haven't run screaming from the room, they probably won't. So have an idea of some of the reasonable adjustments that would help you to do your job better. Can you ask for USB desk fans to be added to the approved stationery list? If you're in an open plan office where there's no control over your environment, think about what could be done to make you able to do your job better again until the symptoms pass.
Yes, this is a real theme today around it's an opportunity to get empowered, just to step into your power and get really clear on what's going on for you, what you need, and being able to communicate that very clearly, knowing what the ideal outcome is for you, because you're because every woman going through menopause is experiencing something different. So your line manager, that you're going to kind of needs to know, what is it that you specifically need? You got to tell them.
Yeah, you've got to tell them, and, I hear women say a lot, oh, they won't help me, oh, they'll ignore me, they'll laugh at me. And it's like, you don't know that until you ask. And if that is the response you get, well, go and see their manager or go and speak to HR or go and speak to your occupational health, representative. There will be somebody in that organisation who can help you. But if, like I said right at the beginning, if you don't ask, you don't get. You have to be brave. You have to be you have to learn to be comfortable talking about what's going on with you and lead the change, not just for yourself, but for the other women around you too.
Yeah. And I feel like as we're having these conversations this week, it's also planting that seed for women that maybe they could go to their HR person and say, hey, do we have a menopause policy? Do we
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about it?
yeah, just go check on your intranet and see what's already there. There might be something there. You might be surprised. And if there isn't, then yes, email your HR rep or your diversity and inclusion lead and ask them why they're not doing anything. You know, a lot of the inquiries I get from organisations are as a result of women having contacted their HR or diversity and inclusion lead to say, what are we doing about this? And that's when I then get the call saying, you know, what can you do to come in and support us? So it's really important that you don't sit back and just wait for your organisation to support you, but you ask to be supported in order to enable you to do your job better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what kind of support, I mean, you've touched on a few little ideas, but what kind of support are you seeing companies give to their employees when they are brave enough to step up and ask for it?
Yeah, the most common one, and actually the easiest place to start, is with a workshop. You know, lunch and learn sessions are very popular, where someone like me will go in for an hour or so and just, you know, give an overview of what menopause is, or share strategies for managing symptoms, you know, looking at natural, practical and medical solutions. It's really important that women get understand what their choices are. You know, menopause is a very personal experience, and there's no right way or wrong way of managing your symptoms. There's only the right way for you. So it's important that you're presented with all the options, and, you know, also use those sessions to have a broad discussion about what your organisation can do next to support you, because all organisations are different. You know, some organisations, it might just be a question of updating your health and safety documentation, and that will have a real impact down the line. Other organisations, it might be setting up accountability groups, or it might be doing further, more detailed workshops. You've got to decide what's going to work within your culture.
Right. And that's what you're helping organizations with as well as the individuals?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So that's what I do with organisations. You know, I run workshops, I help with group coaching, I help update documentation, and, you know, and sit down and feed back the information that I've got from the workshops to the diversity lead or to the HR manager, whoever's leading the project, or to the menopause project sponsor, and then agree what the next steps are. Yeah, because like I said, they're going to be different for each organisation.
Yeah, and it's about talking to everybody within the organization, isn't it? So you're not just speaking to the menopausal women, you're needing to speak, and I would love for you to share why this is important, to be speaking to the men in the organization and
Mm-hmm.
the women
Yeah,
who
I think it's absolutely critical that menopause isn't seen as just something that happens to older women, you know, something that, you know, just putting them in a box in a corner. Menopause is actually something that happens to everyone. You know, 100% of women are going to go through menopause. So guys, you're either going to be living with a menopausal woman, or you're going to be sitting next to one at work. So you need to understand what's happening. And younger women need to be prepared too, so they know what's coming up and they know what their options are, and they know to be able to recognize symptoms when they occur. So it's really important to get the men and the younger women involved in the conversation. It's difficult to get them to turn up to workshops. I've done a couple of workshops where the men have been invited and only the women turn up. And actually that's fine, because women are much more comfortable in the first instance talking about what's going on and sharing experiences when the management and the guys aren't in the room. So I found what works really well for the guys and the younger women is pre-recorded online training sessions. It's almost like a compliance session. You know, a 10-minute webinar they can watch at their desk in their own time, so they can understand what menopause is, understand the experiences of the older women in the office, and what kind of reasonable adjustments they may see going on around them, and understand why that's necessary. Yeah.
Because it really does only need to be quite a quick training, doesn't it? It's not like you need to go into all the ins and outs.
They don't. You know, the guys do not need to know exactly what's going on, and they probably don't want to either. You know, they just want an overview, and that's not just going to help them at work. If they have a female partner, that's going to help them to understand what's going on there too. So yeah, you don't have to get into the nitty-gritty with the guys or the younger women. They just need an overview of what's going on, and they need to understand how their organisation, or the changes that are going to be made within their organisation to support midlife female employees. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the real key thing that's really coming through today already, and I would imagine it's going to continue as the week progresses, is just this idea of awareness being the first step to change. Like, awareness seems to clear the path for so much, improves I mean, I know for me personally in perimenopause, you know, I've only known I've been in perimenopause for a couple of months, but I can see with retrospect that it's been going on probably.
You started a bit earlier. Yeah. I mean, that's it. You know, your hormone levels start changing from around the age of 35. It's unusual to manifest symptoms. Yeah, it's unusual to manifest symptoms until, you know, your mid-40s. But the changes have been occurring before then, you know, and we tend to think, you know, I'm really tired because I'm busy at work, or the kids are driving me mad, or I'm taking care of my parents, or I've been going out too much, you know, whatever it is. And we blame our symptoms on other things. Actually, there's these hormonal changes going on all the time. And with a few adjustments, you can start to feel very much like yourself again quite quickly. And I know you're going to be talking about that in more detail later in the week. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Awareness just shifts so much. And for me personally, the awareness is just the awareness. Before I've already made a few dietary changes. I'm being even more gentle with myself, making sure I'm getting more sleep, drinking less, cut out the caffeine. You know, I know
it's so sad that you've got to drink less. It's not fair.
I know, but I really just can't drink anymore, and I love my wine. Yeah, that's been a real kicker, actually. But just the even like disregarding all the little shifts and changes I'm making, and I know that at the end of this series I'm going to be so clued up, and I'll make even more. Just the awareness has made me feel so much better.
Yeah, just the awareness, understanding what's going on, not being frightened that you literally are losing your mind. You know, if you've got dementia in the family, it's not uncommon for me to speak to women who think who thought that's what was happening to them too, because, you know, the brain fog can be quite severe in some cases. So yeah, the awareness, the education, access to information, you know, even if your employers just put on their intranet a one-pager signposting you to websites or individuals where you can go to get extra help, would be a major step forward, and so simple to do too.
Yeah. So what do you want to say to the women here who work in corporations? What do you want them doing in their individual organizations to help this new cultural shift in the corporate world?
If they feel like they need help, it's to ask for it. You know, look at your diversity lead, look at who's working in HR, look at occupational health. Any of those three places are a good place to start. Or if you have a good relationship with your manager, start with them. But just start that initial conversation and ask what the organisation is doing to support women going through that phase. But you've got to ask, you've got to speak up, you've got to be brave. And it starts with one person, and then suddenly there's a whole 30, 40, 50 women behind them going, yeah, I'll come to that workshop too, please. I need that too. Thank you so much for raising
it. You're the only woman. We're all going to go through this.
Exactly. You know, you become very popular. If you're prepared to stand up and speak, you become very popular with the other women in the office very quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. So I know we've got a couple of people asking questions, and I'm going to share those with you in a minute. Can you speak to the gender pay gap, and how does menopause impact that, or does it impact that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. And I think, you know, we're missing a big thing with the menopause, with the gender pay gap, you know, and everyone knows it's not about men being paid more than women. It's the fact that women aren't in enough senior positions in order to be able to have access to that kind of higher income. You know, and common thinking tends to sit around the fact that this is due to women having families. You know, they take time out for childcare. So we've got a lot of robust policies in place to help women, you know, with maternity leave, flexible working options, all that kind of stuff. But the truth is that 100% of women are going to go through menopause, like I keep saying, whereas only a certain amount of women will choose to have children. So they've got all this support in place, but there's no support in place for women at the other end. And where the gender pay gap is biggest is in the over 50s area, which is of course where women are experiencing those kind of symptoms like hot flushes, the brain fog, the lack of sleep, which can have a far greater impact on your career than having a family can, because there's no support network in place to catch you and take you through it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, cool. And it's kind of what's the word? Ironic that, you know, we women are reaching the peak of our career,
and you're suddenly you're hit again.
but I finally arrived.
I know, finally got myself sorted, and then
Yeah.
And then it's all downhill again. But of course, it does not have to be that way. You hear a lot of scary stories about menopause and about how awful the symptoms are. And yeah, they are awful if you don't do anything to address them. But there's so many things that can be done by your organisation, by your own personal choices, by support from the medical profession. That menopause does not have to be this thing that you fight against. That's something that you have to go through. Just go with it and it will be okay, I promise.
Yes. I love it. Thank you. I want to talk a bit about your book, but before we do, let's just take a little look at the Q&A and see what questions we've got.
Yeah.
Jean's been with us all day. This is awesome. Jean's always asking questions. I love it. Hey, Jean. How do you advise dealing with colleagues who make a joke of hot flushes? Good question.
Yeah, I think, Jean, you've just got to tell them it's not funny. It's very easy when somebody says something, a joke that makes you feel uncomfortable, whether it's about menopause or anything else, to just laugh along, and that seems the easiest thing to do. But you've actually just got to turn around, and you don't have to be mean, you don't have to be aggressive back, you just have to say, actually, do you know what, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. The hot flushes are uncomfortable, but your jokes about it are making me feel worse. And don't say that to them in front of everybody else, so it becomes a whole big thing. Just take them aside and say, look, you've been saying these things, and actually I don't find it funny. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And then if the colleague persists with the jokes, that's when you've got the option to take it further. But if you don't like something, you have to speak up, however uncomfortable or awkward it may feel. Yeah.
Again, another theme here. It's like the menopause it's an opportunity for a woman to find her voice.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah.
And Jean, before you have that conversation, practice it in front of the mirror. We have all these words going around in our head, and you have all these like situations that you're running over, but practice saying out loud what you want to say to that colleague who's making you feel uncomfortable. And then when you say the words out loud to them, it'll feel much more natural and it'll be easier to have that conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we have an anonymous person asking, I have just returned to the workforce in my late 40s and I'm in a senior position. For me, it's not just the menopause that's the issue at work. It's the prejudice in the office against women in their 40s and 50s. Bringing up menopause seems to be just the nail in the coffin. It's confirming that I'm older, and it's almost like announcing I'm not going to be around for much longer. Oh, I feel that. Is talking openly about menopause going to help change these attitudes?
Yeah, 100%. I think it is, and also I think, the words that you're using, that's the way maybe that you feel about it. Maybe everybody else doesn't feel the same way. There will be other people out there who think it's time to open up the conversation too. And you've got to, like I said, you've got to speak up. It costs, what is it? It costs about £30,000, I think, to replace an employee on average to if they've left the organisation for whatever reason. So it's about the business reasons for supporting women through menopause as well. It's not just talking about it as a personal condition or a health condition or an older women condition. It's the business reasons too. If you're supported, if you've got help with your symptoms, if you've got access to online resources or external support, then you're going to do your job better. You're going to perform better. You're going to win more clients, and you're going to lead your team better. I think you said you're in a more senior position. You're going to lead your team better. And if you're in a senior position, then I think you're even more ideally placed to start the conversation. And maybe start by having a chat with other women in your office who are a similar age to you. You might have noticed that they're getting a little bit hotter. They seem a little bit stressed. Maybe they aren't working as well as they've done in the past. And even just 2 or 3 of you getting together on a regular basis to have an informal chat about what's going on will start to make you feel better and give you the confidence to speak up, because business ultimately is interested in the bottom line. Yes, health and well-being is more important these days, but for a lot of organizations, it still is a tick box exercise. But businesses are interested in the bottom line. And if you can make the connections between your business performance and your menopause, then they're more likely to sit up and listen.
That's an awesome answer. I missed a little bit of it and I don't think it was you. I think it was my internet not allowing me to hear you.
Okay.
All that I got was wonderful. And also to that woman that just asked that question, definitely listen to the interviews as the weeks go on, because I know I'm going to be interviewing a lot of women who will help to shift your perception of menopause. It will help to shift your perception of age.
Yeah, and you know what the other thing, Katie, is, the average age expectancy for women in the UK now is 81. So 45 is not old. It's only just over halfway through. And, you know, if the average age expectancy is 81, the likelihood is we're going to live a lot longer. In fact, I saw a report that Deloitte had done recently saying that we should be looking at our financial investments with a life expectancy age of 100. So, you know, menopause is by no means about being old. It's just another stage in the female life cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, in other cultures, you're respected when you get to menopause. You know, it changes your position in society completely. In the West, there's this whole thing about, you know, we need to be thin and pretty and youthful, and that's what, you know, we focus too much on, especially in magazines and in the media and on TV. Yet in other cultures, it's not. It's the other way around. You know, it's the older women who get the respect. So that's another thing that we can start looking at too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's something I would like to explore more, is how different cultures view menopause, because I think we're a little unique the way we look at it. We're not. I
know, we're in awe of, you know, youth and fertility, and yeah, that's a great place to be. But there's some more great places to get to as you get older.
Definitely. Yeah, I know this is what I'm getting excited about. Jean has another question. She has asked, if you're looking for a new job, when would you bring up the subject that may be needed, i.e. a fan?
Oh, the USB desk fan. I wouldn't worry about it. I would wait until you're in the office, to be honest, Jean.
Yeah. So yeah, when do you bring up the subject that help may be needed? So sorry, what was your answer there?
About the fan, I would say I would wait till you got the job. I think, you know, you're not going to apply for a job unless you think you're 100% capable of doing it. So I don't think menopause comes into the interview process in the same way that, you know, you don't discuss having children in an interview process either. So why would you talk about menopause?
Yeah, totally. I love that. Yeah. Any more questions? Not yet. Tell me about your book.
Oh, yeah, the book. Okay.
Right to think it's just been released?
It came out in December. So my business focuses on organisations now, but what I used to do was private menopause coaching. And I used to run a very popular online program called the Hot Flush Freedom Challenge. And it was a 10-day program basically to help you cool down, calm down, and break through the menopause program, brain fog and menopause. So, you know, just giving you one thing to do each day, that by the end of 10 days, you'll feel that you've got all the information that you need in order to get control of your menopause symptoms naturally, if that's what you're choosing to do. And even within those 10 days, you will start to feel better. So the Hot Flush Freedom Challenge, does it come out back to front on here, or the right way around? So it's on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle or in hard copy, and it's a truly transformational book. If you're looking for if like me you like direct, practical, easy to implement advice, this is the book for you.
Yes, please. I need to get my hands on that. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the idea of, this is what it's, because it does feel overwhelming otherwise, doesn't it? Like just having one focus every day.
Yeah. And that's it. One thing to change each day. You know, small, consistent action is what brings long-term change and sustainability, rather than trying to change everything at once. Because if you try and change too much at once, you get grumpy, you get, you know, cravings, and you kind of setting yourself up to fail. Whereas if you make small changes, you're much more likely to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. What's a key takeaway that you would like to share with the audience today? What's something you really want them to take away and remember?
I think, remember, you are not alone. You know, menopause can be a lonely place. It can be a scary place. I know, I've been there. You know, you do not feel like yourself anymore, but you are not alone. But the only way you're going to feel less alone is by talking to other women or asking for help. And as I've said a couple of times throughout this interview, you know, if you want help, you've got to ask for it. You've got to be prepared to not to stand up and be counted, but you've got to be prepared up and ask for help and ask to be supported.
Yeah, find that beautiful voice. Speak it loud and clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Julie. I've so enjoyed your take on menopause.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for the questions, Jean and the other lady. And then if there's any questions in the Facebook group, I can pop in later and take a look at those, Katie.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. I'll make sure you get a copy of the recording so you can share this far and wide as well and keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. Really, thank you.
Everything you said. Thank you. See you later. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye.